Tianxian Realm, Qingzhou. Qingzhou is one of the four major states in the profound Sky Realm, with a vast expanse. Since ancient times, this state has produced many talented people, and the most famous one is that it is rich in swordsmanship. In Qingzhou, sword cultivation accounts for at least 70% of the practitioners. Even ordinary people in the secular world have a unique preference for swords. Children's favorite toy is the wooden sword. Wearing a long sword is also the best decoration. This is the great state of swords. And the most famous sect in Qingzhou is the sword sect located in the center of Qingzhou. The sword sect has a total of 300 affiliated sects all over Qingzhou, and Momin is one of them. At this moment, at the Danking Peak where Momin is located, there is a curvaceous young girl in a green shirt, carrying a girl with a round face up the mountain. The girl looked 16 or 17 years old, tall and slender with long legs. The waist of the cyan gown is like the dividing line between the upper body and the hips and legs, revealing her perfect proportions of long legs. The girl's name is Lu Dongli, her father's surname is Lu, she was born on the winter solstice, and her mother loves to eat pears, hence the name. She also has an older brother named Lu Koch, whose name doesn't make any sense. The name is that father casually opened a book, turned 2 pages, selected the first word of each page, and pieced it together to form the word Koch. It is worth mentioning that the girl wears a long sword on her waist and Momin's waist badge on her waist, both of which show her identity. She is a sword cultivator. The little Lu Dongli's back has big eyes, very watery, and a chubby face, which makes people want to pinch it. The lovely round face should be ravaged. The little girl looked like a well-behaved type, and said to Lu Dongli in a milky voice, "Master, why don't you fly me up the mountain, aren't you able to fly?" In the eyes of the little girl, Master is the most beautiful person she has ever seen in her life, and also the most powerful person. The girl named Lu Dongli pursed her lips and smiled. Although she looks immature, she has a calmness that surpasses her peers in both temperament and demeanor. She was very satisfied with this new disciple that she picked up at the foot of the mountain. Ahem, she was a new disciple, so she answered patiently, "Xiao, this is your first time going up the mountain. As a teacher, I want you to familiarize yourself with the environment of Danking Mountain. On the way up the mountain, I happened to tell you the sect rules, and there are some words the master wants to focus on telling you. Let's talk." "Master, I will listen carefully." The little girl blinked, being very well behaved. Lu Dongli nodded slightly. The sun was shining on her delicate pink neck, and in that calm but pleasant voice, she told the rules of the sect. After speaking, she began to introduce Momin. "Xiao, apart from you, we currently have 7 outer disciples in Momin. They are your brothers and sisters. Among them, 6 are my disciples, and 1 is the disciple of your uncle in charge." The little girl was stunned for a moment, and Tong Yanwuji said, "Ah! Master has more disciples than the master. Does this mean that the master is more powerful than the master? Lu Dongli raised her hand and flicked Xiaokai's forehead lightly, and said solemnly, "Be careful." Xiaokai realized that she had said the wrong thing, and immediately shut up obediently. Lu Dongli moved her slender legs, continued to climb the steps, and introduced, "Your master, Shishi, is the elder brother of Shishi, and he is 6 years older than Shishi. Therefore, you must respect it in the future." Respect him better than me, but..." After she said the word "but," she had a very serious expression on her face, as if the content behind her was particularly important, which made Xiaokaiu nervous. "However, you have to remember in your daily life, don't imitate his temperament." "Ah!" Xiaokaiu was stunned for a moment, but did not expect that what the master said was actually this. At a very young age, she couldn't help but wonder, what kind of temperament is the master of the sect master? Seemingly seeing the doubts of his little apprentice, Lu Dongli narrowed his eyes with a helpless expression, and said, your master and uncle's temperament can be described with the words he invented, that is, pull. Master, what do you mean by dragging? Xiaoqiu couldn't understand. Liu Dongli shook his head and said, you don't need to understand the word, you just need to know that the appearance of your uncle in charge is what it means to drag the word. Oh! Xiaoqiu replied obediently. Liu Dongli raised her head and glanced at the top of Danking Peak, as if recalling the past. She couldn't help sighing. Liu Dongli has been precocious since she was a child, and she has a stable temperament. Everything is determined and then moved. Cultivation is also a step-by-step. Stable. And her brother, who was 6 years older than her, was completely different. He is so ordinary, yet so confident. Apart from having a good-looking skin, my brother's talents in cultivation and many aspects are really unremarkable. But in this case, he has always considered himself to be the chosen person, the son of luck, and a character like the protagonist of the novel. She thought that her brother's self-confidence was innate, until she asked Liu Koj once, only to see him raise his head, look at people through his nostrils. His eyes were deep, and he looked up at the night sky at a 45-degree angle, clearly not yet there. During the voice change period, he squeezed out a voice that was not very low, and said solemnly but extremely arrogantly, "Little Litzy, that's because you don't know where your brother came from, and you don't know that your brother has already seen through the essence of this huge sky-profound realm." Since then, Liu Dongli has determined that his brother is not born with self-confidence. He is stunned. He is sick. Of course, she knew where her brother came from. Isn't he born from his mother's womb just like her? As for seeing the essence of the profound sky realm, even the sect master of the sword sect dare not say such words. But she couldn't understand the answer her brother gave her. It's just a game, I'm in the game world. And my brother's words and deeds on weekdays are even more indescribable. 3 years ago, when my parents passed away, my brother cried so hard that he fainted. Before he fainted, he even talked nonsense. He had lived for more than 40 years, and his parents gave him a warmth he had never had before. At that time, he was obviously not yet 20 years old. Where did he come from 40 years? Maybe a typo. What's even more outrageous is that after the death of his parents, although my brother was sad, he obviously became more confident. This caused him to pull even more. A word he often talks about. www.mtlnovel.com. Liu Dongli doesn't understand at all. What he said is the main character template. He often said that he was the protagonist template, but he did not tell Liu Dongli what the protagonist template was. And what does this have to do with the death of our parents? Ever since she learned to use her brother's original word pull flexibly, thoughts have been circling in her mind from time to time. Why does my brother live so hard? Why does he live so dragged? How dare he? And his brother's behavior has deepened Liu Dongli's determination to cultivate steadily. If she doesn't practice well and then stands behind her brother, then maybe one day, her brother will be beaten to death. After all, the outside world is actually very dangerous. Although Liu Dongli didn't walk fast, he slowly walked to the top of the mountain, and then stopped. Xiaoqiu lay on master's back, widened her round eyes and looked forward, only to see a man in a thin green shirt with his hands behind his back, facing the cold wind, looking up at the sky. Xiaoqiu can swear that if master is the most beautiful woman she has ever seen, then the person in front of her is the most handsome man she has ever seen. But the man's next words made her heart skip half a beat, leaving an indelible trace in her young heart. Heaven doesn't give birth to me, Liu Koj, Tian Xian is like a long night. The man in the blue shirt muttered to himself. Liu Dongli's beautiful face showed a helpless look. She put down Xiaoqiu on her back, raised her hands, covered Xiaoqiu's small ears, and before blocking it, she said, "Don't listen. Momin, Danking Peak, at the top of the peak." The little girl Xiaoqiu's ears are being covered by her master Liu Dongli. Master's slender hands are slightly cold, but they are very soft. Xiaoqiu's attention, however, was not on the master at all. She was attracted by the man in front of her. The little girl whose ears were covered widened her watery eyes. In her short life, it was the first time she had seen such a person with such a temperament. The feeling of this man is completely different from others. It's very much like everyone's impressions when they turned on the TV and saw the hero of an idol drama for the first time when they were young. Although Xiaoqiu is not very old, he can still understand some of the words of the man in the blue shirt. Heaven does not give birth to me, Lukoch, Tian Qian is like a long night. Okay. It's amazing. Before going up the mountain, she had imagined what the practitioners on the mountain looked like. And the scene in front of her was undoubtedly beyond her imagination. The child is too simple, so simple that he has not contracted embarrassing cancer. Is this the legendary sect master? Xiao Qiu, who had never seen anything in the world, was completely attracted by this unique temperament. But at this time, she couldn't help thinking of Master's warning. Master said, "Don't learn to behave like the master and master." Lu Dongli put down her hands covering Xiaoqiu's ears, with a helpless look on her face. She raised her hands to salute the man in the blue shirt, and said, "Meet the sect master." Xiaoqiu followed suit, and said in a milky voice, "Bye, meet the headmaster." The man in the blue shirt turned his back to the two, nodded slightly and said, "No gift." The helplessness on Lu Dongli's face became more and more intense. She was very aware of some of her brother's little habits. For example, in some public places, he liked to talk with his back to others. Oh yes, today is still the night of the full moon. She almost forgot that on the night of the full moon, her brother would definitely go outside the house for activities. He would put his hands behind him, leaving a tall and straight back, then looked up at the moon and said some nonsense. In Lu Dongli's eyes, this is my brother's monthly impromptu performance. Brother, she is Xiao Qiu, my new disciple. Lu Dongli raised her hand and patted Xiao Qiu's head lightly, introducing. Lukoch continued to look up at the moon and said lightly, "Not bad. Xiaoqiu just thinks that the headmaster is very powerful, and he knows that I am very good without even looking at himself. Child, you are very lucky to enter my momin." Lukoch said solemnly. "This may be the creation of your life." Lu Dongli looked down at her toes, wanting to pick a crack and dig in. Xiaoqiu is extremely talented, and it is not difficult to join the sword sect. And Momin is just the bottom of the 300 sects under Jianzong, and accepting Xiaoqiu as a disciple is purely an act of stealing. What kind of luck, what great fortune, it really embarrassed me. Of course, she also knew in her heart that her brother said these words because he, as the head of the Momin, had unspeakable and infinite confidence. After all, he believed that he was the chosen one, and to follow him was to follow the way of heaven. From this point of view, this is not a creation, what is it? Lu Dongli glanced down at Xiaoqiu, and saw that she was staring at her elder brother with a curious expression on her face, and hurriedly cried out in her heart, "Not good. I can't let them get along any longer. We'll teach bad children." She didn't want her new apprentice to be polluted. In her eyes, Xiaoqiu is a well-behaved and obedient child who matures much earlier than children of her age. As long as she teaches her carefully, she will definitely be a stable female sword cultivator like herself. So very good. Little Momin, to have such a sect master is enough. Therefore, it is not advisable to stay here for a long time. Brother, Xiaoqiu should be tired too. I'll take her to rest first. Lu Dongli suggested. Go. Lukoch said. After getting the approval, Lu Dongli took Xiaoqiu and walked inside, and he walked faster and faster. Xiaoqiu turned her head 3 times, but Lu Dongli seemed to regard her head as a beast, and said solemnly, "Don't look back." She knows how strong her brother's assimilation power is. Her eldest disciple stayed with her brother for 3 days when she first entered the school, and it took her 3 years to reluctantly reverse her eldest disciple's character. After Lu Dongli and Xiao Kaihu walked away, Lu Koj no longer looked up at the moon, but turned to look at the backs of two figures, one large and one small. He glanced at Xiao Chu casually, then muttered to himself, "Name, Xiao Kaihu. Root bone, 8 Kendo qualification, 8 opportunity, 9 I don't know where Xiao Litsi picked up this child. All these attributes are very high." Lu Koj was very satisfied. But when he thought that this child was chance, 9, he was relieved. "It's not that we picked her up, it's that she had a high chance and was fortunate to meet us." Lu Koj nodded secretly, agreeing. "It's been 21 years. It's been 21 years since I came to Tianxian realm. Lu Koj muttered to himself. "It's so good, why did it somehow travel into the game?" Lu Koj couldn't understand. Yes, the world he lives in now is a game called Tiangxuanja that he played on Earth in his previous life. In the 22nd century, the game industry has developed to an unimaginable level, and people seem to be in a whole new world. The birth of Tiangxuanja turned out to be even more sensational. Some players even open their minds and say that everyone is transformed into a projection of high latitudes. In fact, everyone is not playing games, but descending into a real other world. But Lu Koj never imagined that he would actually cross over. In his previous life, he was a super rich second generation, but his parents had their own careers, and they were divorced because of various reasons. To put it bluntly, his parents are a bit playing their own way. From childhood to adulthood, he hardly felt the warmth of home. All I felt was the cold banknotes. www.mtlnovel.com is just a bunch of numbers from Kerry. Therefore, he is fully immersed in Tiangxuanja, and he is also one of the well-known players in Tiangxuanja. The biggest feature is the ability to make money. He runs wild in the game and throws money if he disagrees, pull a horse. Who would have thought that during the guild battle one night, he held a fairy sword and flew to the front of more than 100 players of the hostile guild, and said loudly, "Haha, you more than 100 rookies have been surrounded by Lao Tzu." He was about to slash wildly like chopping vegetables, and he made a random kill, and inexplicably passed through. It's just strange that, except that he can still obtain experience points, and the function of detection is still there, which allows him to see other people's aptitudes and attributes, the rest of the functions in the game are locked. Even if he can get experience points, he can't rely on experience points to level up. With his golden fingers not fully opened, he is earth-shatteringly handsome, but in other respects he seems a little unremarkable. But that didn't affect his state of mind. Lock it, just lock it, unlock it sooner or later. Can the protagonist still have a golden finger? 21 years have passed in this way, Lu Koj is still very sure about this, and has never doubted himself. The mentality of the chosen person is as solid as a rock, and he has never wavered in the slightest. At this moment, a system prompt sounded suddenly in his ear. Ding! The internal test of the game is just around the corner, and some functions have been unlocked. Lu Koj's expression did not change in the slightest, neither shocked nor overjoyed. He just bowed his head slightly, and then smiled with a crooked mouth, showing a little evil charm and madness. Only to hear him snort softly, "Oh, as I expected." Lu Koj stood beside the cliff, facing the cool breeze at night, with a look of as expected on his face. After hearing the system prompt, he skillfully opened his character panel to check his panel information. "As I thought, it's an NPC template," Lu Koj said. Now that he has traveled through the Tianxian realm, doesn't it mean that he has become an NPC, non-player character, in the game? But fortunately, he seems to have all the functions that the player has, but for the time being, only part of it is open, and part of it is locked. Lu Koj continued to browse, and the panel information was as follows: Name, Lu Koj. Race, Human. Level, Level 10. Initial Great Perfection, Health, 510/510. Spiritual Power Value, 1295/1300. Note, when Lu Dongli and Xiaokaiu went up the mountain just now, the wind stopped. Lu Koj used the spirit wind technique once and blew the corners of his clothes. Root Bone, 1. Upgradable, kept at 10. Kendo Qualification, 1. Upgradable, kept at 10. Chance, 3.141596, permanently fixed, not upgradable. Charisma, 10. The upper limit value has been reached. Comprehensive summary of the character panel, an earth-shattering piece of junk. After browsing his character panel, Lu Koj didn't have much emotional ups and downs. In his opinion, the panel information is just the panel information. As the chosen person, he must have some hidden qualities, which are invisible on the panel. And these hidden qualities are undoubtedly the most crucial things. Therefore, the attributes on the panel will not affect his self-confidence. The brain supplement is done. Not to mention, Lu Koj glanced at his experience point. In the column of experience value, it is marked upgradable. Don't look at his current character level is not high, only level 10. However, over the years, while many functions have not been unlocked, he has silently accumulated a lot of experience points through some special ways. Over time, it has become a considerable amount. It's just that the previous function was not activated, so he couldn't rely on experience points to upgrade, which made these experience points useless. But it also gave him confidence. It's like you have a frozen fund in your bank card, although you don't know when it will be unfrozen. Finally, Lu Koj glanced at the thing he cared about the most: resurrection coins. What is displayed is resurrection coin, 5. This means that he has 5 chances to be resurrected, and he can cheat the corpse even if he dies. Looking at the resurrection coin, the smile on Lu Koj's face became more and more sinister and maddening, and the color became thicker. After closing the character panel, Lu Koj took a look at the time of the internal test of the game. There are still 30 days before the internal test of the game. Tianxian and Earth's time flow are different, 30 days on Earth, 300 days in Tianxian. Lu Koj thought. In fact, this is not particularly outrageous. To be exact, even many online games in the 21st century, the time setting will not be 1:1 with the real world. And a lot of time, people's concept of time is sometimes very vague, and it is difficult for them to perceive it. For example, when you are in bed, you think about squeezing yourself for a while, but only for a while, and the result is predictable. But sometimes, you seem to have had a very long dream, but in fact you just fell asleep not long ago. The game experience of Tianxuanja is indeed like a real dream in many cases. After 300 days, there will be sand sculpture players coming. Lu Koj looked forward to this. Ever since he found out that he had crossed into the closed beta of the game, one of the questions that Lu Koj thought about the most was, can he still meet the sand sculpture players? In his opinion, the profound sky realm without sand sculpture players would be a lot less fun. At the same time, as an NPC, in his opinion, isn't the sand sculpture player the best tool person to use? In order to welcome the sand sculpture players, as the contemporary head of Momin, Lu Koj felt that he had to make some preparations. After admiring himself for a while beside the cliff, Lu Koj returned to his bamboo house. Everyone in Momin lives in bamboo houses, but the grades are different. Of course, Momin is indeed not wealthy. In the entire Qingzhou, Jianzong is the largest sect, and its subordinate sects total 300, divided into hundreds of sects, middle 100 sects, and lower 100 sects. As for Momin, it is the last existence among the 100 gates. However, in Lu Koj's view, this is only temporary. Leaving aside him, the chosen one, when his younger sister develops, she will definitely be a strong generation. It's just that Xiao Lizi's temper is too bad. Lukoj despised this. Her steadiness is completely unfavorable to the name of the sect. In fact, it stands to reason that with the overall strength of Momin, it is not worthy to become a subordinate sect of Jianzong, but who is Momin who has been brilliant in the past. Among the best. At that time, Momin also made a lot of credit for Jianzong, so even if he became more and more down, he was still not removed from Jianzong, and he enjoyed some of the resources that Jianzong's subordinate sects should have. Of course, in addition to historical reasons, there are two other reasons. First, because a well-known elder-level figure in Jianzong now has a close relationship with Lukoj's mother and is a sister. Lukoj didn't know exactly why these two women who were so different in their cultivation had an unbreakable friendship. He only knew that there is someone above me. This female elder of Sword sect is the woman on Lukoj's head. The second reason is because there is a suspected existence of an expert in Momin. In the current Momin, including the new Xiaokaiu, a total of 10 people are organized. They are Lukoj, the leader, Lu Dongli, the only elder, and 8 outer disciples. In addition to this organization, there is a very special existence, belonging to half of his own people. This kind of person is generally called enshrinement in the sect, and he is a bit like a guest in a powerful family. Lukoj is the 36th generation head of Momin. This worshipper was picked up by the 31st generation head when he went out for a wander. Most of the time, this worshipper is in retreat on the mountain, and Lukoj has never seen this person. But according to legend, this person once made a move 100 years ago, and his cultivation is not bad. 10 members, plus one who hangs up. This is the current situation of Momin. In fact, rather than hanging up the phone, Lukoj prefers to call him a lying corpse. He walked out of his bamboo hut and walked for a short distance when he saw a small mound with a wordless stone tablet stuck on the mound. It was a solitary tomb. Lukoj squatted down, raised his right hand, tapped the stone tablet twice, and then asked, "Is the worship www.mtlnovel.com still there?" Yes, this worshipper has been lying in the tomb all the year round in seclusion. Little Yin is hidden in the wild, De Yin is hidden in the city, and God is hidden in the grave. The advantage of this performance art is that if the worshipper really dies, Lukoj will be buried. The downside is that Lukoj didn't even know whether this worshipper was dead or not. Not long after he tapped the stone tablet twice, Lonely Tomb responded with a puff of blue smoke. "It's still there. That line, that line." Lukoj stood up, waved his hand, and then went back the same way. After identifying the inherent members of his sect, Lukoj returned to the house, took a deep breath, and opened his task interface. After 21 years, the task system was finally activated, and he could finally have the function of earning experience points by doing tasks. It's just that because the game has not even started the closed beta, let alone the public beta, the plot missions are still locked, but the sect mission has been opened. For the so-called sect quests, the quest system will give you quests of different nature according to your identities in the sect. At this moment, in the sect task column, a bright light is flashing, showing to be received. Lukoj didn't even think about it, and decided to accept the task. Ding! The identity of the sect is being scanned. Ding! Your identity has been confirmed. Your identity is the head of the Momin. Ding! You have successfully received the main quest of the sect, Strengthen the Momin. Please click here to view the mission details. P.S. Newcomer and new book, please support with a recommendation ticket. In addition, if you are interested, you can invest in it. I am going to send the contract today. Strengthen Momin. Lukoj nodded secretly as he looked at the task name. As the head of Momin, this is indeed what he should do the most. Taking 10,000 steps back, even if there is no task, he will try his best to do these things. It seems that you want me to take the whole sect to fly. At present, the chosen person, whose character level is only level 10, thinks that the mission is just what it means. After Lukoj clicked on the mission details, the first thing that caught his eye was the sect rating that the system gave to Momin. Momin, no flow. Lukoj. I feel offended. He has some understanding of the rating of sects. In his perception, the sects in Tianxian realm are the worst at the 9th grade, and the strongest are the 1st grade sects like Jianzhong. Of course, within the system division, there are also legendary superclasses, but in the current profound sky realm, there is no such extraordinary sect. As for the so-called not in the stream, it was the first time that Lukoj met. It seems that after the player enters the game, the sects that are not in the mainstream will not be displayed in the Zongmen Atlas. In other words, if the closed beta and public beta are opened, players will enter the profound sky realm, and if Momin still does not enter the stream, the players will simply ignore it. After he looked it over carefully, he understood the reason why Momin did not enter the stream. It turned out that the problem was with me and Xiaokaiu. Lukoj rubbed his chin and suddenly realized. The minimum requirement for a 9pin sect is that the number of sect members must reach 10. But these 10 people must all be cultivators with cultivation. Xiaokaiu happens to be the 10th member of Momin, but this little girl is just getting started, and she is still immortal for the time being, so it doesn't count. At the same time, the head of the sect is responsible for the appearance and strength of the sect, and the cultivation of the head is also required. For the 9th rank sect, the strength of the head must at least reach the 1st realm. According to the realm, levels 0 to 10 are called the 1st realm, while levels 1120 are the 1st realm, and so on. And according to the upgrade system of Tiangxuanja, every 10 levels have to do a promotion task. After completing the promotion task, you can continue to upgrade. This is also the reason why Lukoj has been stuck in the great perfection in the 1st realm for a long time. In the past, it was no use for his experience value. Since he couldn't do the promotion task, it was useless to cultivate on his own. He couldn't even break through the simplest initial stage. The game system did not become his golden finger in the early stage, but instead held him back. On the contrary, the reputation of the sect has met the standards of the 9th rank section. Lukoj felt that this was all his own credit. Momin's Zongmen prestige point in Tianxian realm is now 211, and the prestige point requirement for a 9th rank Zongmen is 100 points. Over the years, Lukoj often went down the mountain, and ran to wherever there were many people. With what he did in the past, he was still able to brush up on his sense of existence. The ignorant mortals who haven't seen much of the world all think that this man, who looks very immortal in appearance, is a great cultivator with a high level of cultivation. After all, Lukoj's usual behavior is still very bluffing. Of course, the sect's prestige that mortals can bring is limited. If a sect wants to be famous all over the world, it still needs to make a name in the industry. That is to say, to make a name for himself in the world of practice. The approval of 100 mortals is not worth the approval of an ordinary practitioner. You must know that the prestige point requirement for an 8th rank sect is as high as 1000 points. And let some people with high cultivation base have blue eyes, the prestige value they can bring will be very impressive. But that's all for later. The first task that Lukoj needs to complete now is to upgrade the Momin to the 9th grade sect. Looks like it's time to go down the mountain. The next day, Momin Hall. Although the people in Momin live in bamboo houses that return to nature, the main hall of Momin is still somewhat imposing. This is the main hall built when the Momin was still brilliant. Later, after it fell, many things were sold, but the main hall was always kept. At this moment, Lukoj, the supreme leader of Momin, and Lu Dongli, the only elder, are having a morning meeting. Lu Dongli was wearing a long light yellow dress today, with a beautiful face and a slim figure. She has already grown up. What? Brother, are you going down the mountain with me? Lu Dongli was startled, and she was unwilling. Walking with my brother is too high profile. It is worth mentioning that when there are outsiders, Lu Dongli usually refers to Lu Koj as the elder brother or the head of the family. In private, under the strong request of Lu Koj, the dead sister control, he must address him as the elder brother. As for names like Oba and Downy Sauce, it's okay, but it's not necessary. Sorry, although you and I haven't been down the mountain together for a long time, you don't have to be so excited. Lu Koj smiled and waved his hand, I'll make you happy. Saying that, he raised his hand, wanting to squeeze Lu Dongli's oval face, but saw that she stepped back and cleverly avoided it. Are you serious about taking a half step back? Obviously, he always begged me to pinch, and he blinked his big eyes and said to me, please, please. Lu Koj closed himself, and his whole body almost lost its color and turned grey. Lu Dongli has long been accustomed to Lu Koj's daily autism. On the contrary, she even thinks that her brother in this state is more pleasing to the eye than his usual. Brother, why are you going down the mountain this time? Lu Dongli asked. Oh, isn't Xiaokai just getting started? I thought that you would also take her down the mountain to find the spiritual herb, so I thought about going with you. Lu Koj said. It is very effective to take marrow washing spirit grass before the official practice. Unless you are really poor and can't open the pot, otherwise, washing the marrow spirit grass is a necessity before practice. For some sects with strong financial resources, there is a lot of stock in the treasury, but for some poor sects, this is not realistic. Because it is extremely difficult to preserve the spirit grass, it requires a special container, which is a little expensive, and it is not something that Momin can afford today. Moreover, it is also difficult to bring back the spirit grass for washing the marrow, and the difficulty factor is slightly higher. It's not worth it to grow your own. So, Momin always takes the disciples down the mountain to find them, and then, pick and eat now. Lu Dongli heard that her brother was going down the mountain to find grass with her, and wondered, isn't my brother always disinterested in such trivial matters? In Lu Dongli's eyes, the disciples have officially entered the door of practice after taking the spiritual washing herbs and then giving them the formulas for practice. This is a very ceremonial thing, so she is actively involved in it. But Lu Koj has always been uninterested in this kind of thing. Why is it uncharacteristic today? You are wrong. Lu Koj seemed to see the doubt in Lu Dongli's eyes. He sat on the main seat of the hall, straightened his waist, coughed lightly, and said solemnly, Elder Dongli doesn't know anything, the breakthrough of this seat is imminent, and this time down the mountain is also to break the barrier. Really? Lu Dongli couldn't sit still in an instant. How many years have passed? My brother was stuck in the first realm of great consummation, how many years has it been? When she officially practiced www.mtlnovel.com, Lu Koj was already at the beginning of the great perfection. When she was in the first realm of great perfection, Lu Koj was still in the first realm of great perfection. Now, Lu Dongli is in the second realm, and Lu Koj is still in the first realm. Even Momin's contemporary eldest disciple, Lu Koj's first disciple, has now reached the first stage of great perfection. The apprentices are catching up. Fortunately, her brother's mentality has always been very good. Every time she breaks through, she is afraid that her brother will feel ashamed and feel that she is too far away from her, which will lead to unstable Taoism and loss of confidence in herself. It turns out that she thinks too much. Brother only lowered his eyes and his eyes were cold. Then he lowered his voice and said, 30 years of Hedong and 30 years of Hexi, don't bully young poor. Lu Dongli felt that this sentence was very irritating, but she was really scared. She was very afraid that it would take her brother 30 years to break through. Therefore, Lu Dongli was very excited at this moment, and there was light in her beautiful eyes. Are you happy? Lu Koj said. Lu Dongli nodded and did not hide her emotions. This was indeed a great joy. He just listened to Lu Koj and said, then why don't you bring your face over and let me pinch it? I'm going to prepare the luggage. Liu Dongli used the escape method and disappeared without a trace in an instant. Liu Koj looked at the empty hall and said with a smile, Xiao Lizi's cultivation seems to have improved again. She deserves to be a talented girl who can be regarded as a leader in Jianzhong. It's a pity that her temperament is too stable, which is really not conducive to the acquisition of the sex reputation. To honor your ancestors, you have to rely on me. Liu Koj sat on the main seat of the hall, raised his head at a 45-degree angle, and let out a long, faint sigh. P.S. Ask for a recommendation ticket. After a stick of incense, the 4 people who went down the mountain this time gathered outside the main hall. Yes, 4 of them. In addition to Liu Koj, Liu Dongli, and Xiao Kaiu, there is also a contemporary disciple of Momin, Liu Koj's first disciple, Hiding. Hey surname, a slightly unpopular surname. He was originally Liu Koj's personal little Taoist boy before, taking care of his diet and daily life. Later, due to various reasons, he was accepted as a disciple by Liu Koj. Today's realm is the peak of the initial realm. Xiao Kaiu hid behind Liu Dongli, stuck out half of her head, and peeked at Hiding. Observation in the dark.jpg. Hiding is a head taller than her. He is not very old. He is just 13 years old this year. The man was thin and black, like a black monkey. He and Liu Koj stood together. If there was a difference between clouds and mud, he was like a cowherder and a noble son of an aristocratic family. Xiao Kaiu felt that under the background of the senior brother, the master and uncle looked more and more handsome. She is a well-behaved and polite child. After bowing to Liu Koj, she called out obediently, Senior brother. Liu Dongli smiled and pulled the horn braid on Xiao Kaiu's head and said, Xiao Kaiu, your senior brother is already a cultivator at the peak of the first realm. When he breaks through to the first realm, he can fly with his sword. I will learn a lot from your senior brother in the future. Xiao Chu heard the words, nodded vigorously, and simply sighed, wow, the senior brother is amazing. In her eyes, the criterion for judging a master is whether he can fly. Senior brother will be able to fly right away, that is a quasi-master. Hiding on the side heard the words, a black face turned black and red, and he quickly waved his hand and looked ahead. He is dumb and can't speak. Xiao Kaiu obviously didn't realize this, she just thought that the big brother was taciturn, and began to doubt herself, is it because I'm not cute enough? Liu Koj brought Hiding with him when he went down the mountain this time. First, because the breakthrough of Hiding was imminent, he also needed to go down the mountain to find an opportunity. Second, because the head of Dang Tang went out, how could he not be worthy of a few people around him? Let's go. Liu Koj said. Liu Dongli, who was wearing a long light yellow dress, patted the sachet hanging around her waist, which was her magic weapon for storage. A piece of emerald green leaf floated out, and continued to enlarge, and after being 7 or 8 meters long, it stagnated in the air. This is her magic weapon for flying, a light boat. It is enough for a group of 4 to ride together. The destination of their trip was the Flame Forest, a small distance from Momin. Most of the trees in this forest have reedred leaves, hence the name. In the Flame Forest, there are spirit herbs for washing marrow, but the number is very small, so you need to find them slowly. At the same time, there are many alien beasts dormant in the depths of the Flame Forest. Alien beasts are ferocious, and any alien beast is not something that an ordinary cultivator can handle. Therefore, a group of 4 will not go too deep. The hidden path in the forest, not everyone can reach the deepest. Xiao Kaiu was flying for the first time, so she was excited and scared. Her chubby little face was tight, but her big eyes were extra bright. Liu Dongli, who was in charge of controlling Yi Yechingzhou, sat at the front. She was slender, with her long legs sitting cross-legged, her blue silk in a simple way, and she began to Disguise is a relatively basic spell, while Liu Dongli's operation is very skilled, and it can be said that he is very skilled. In no time, her beautiful face became ordinary. However, because of his extraordinary temperament, no matter how ordinary the disguise is, it can still be regarded as the word endure. In Liu Dongli's eyes, going out and walking, with a beautiful appearance, is a burden, and it is easy to cause trouble or even a crisis. You must know that Lao Se critic has already conquered the heavens and the world. There is no place in this world where Lao Se Kui does not exist, and the world of practice cannot be exempted from the vulgarity. Oh, it's starting again. Liu Koj muttered in his heart, my sister is too stable. After her disguise was over, Liu Dongli turned her attention to Liu Koj again. She knew very well that these good-looking male practitioners must learn to protect themselves when they go out. Of course, under Liu Koj's firm eyes, Liu Dongli had no choice but to compromise, instead of forcibly performing the disguise technique on him. Liu Koj looked forward and seemed to be venting, but in fact he was staring at the task interface, looking at the promotion task to be claimed in front of him. It was said before that in the profound sky realm, the promotion task must be done every 10th, and it is impossible to continue to level up if it is not completed. The promotion tasks are also divided into grades, divided by color, from low to high, respectively, yellow, blue, purple, and orange. Most players will choose yellow level tasks, because promotion tasks cannot be done in teams, while yellow level tasks are simple and easy to do, and can be completed independently, which is very easy. Most people love yellow. The blue level tasks are much more difficult, and only experienced players will choose the blue level. The purple level is the high level of the big guild, and even professional players are qualified to do it. As for the orange level, even professional players may not be able to achieve it. Only the individual players who stand at the top of the pyramid can try their luck. Of course, the higher the difficulty of the task, the greater the harvest after completing the promotion task. For players, by completing more difficult promotion tasks, they can further widen the gap in strength with other players. Liu Koj was looking at the task interface at the moment, not thinking entangled, but recalling the time when he was doing promotion tasks in the past, and was recalling the glorious years of the past. After the memory was over, he didn't even think about it, he just accepted the orange level mission. What do you want? Do the best thing you can do. The chosen person did not hesitate. Immediately afterwards, he began to browse the mission details. After he made up his mind, he crooked his mouth and smiled, and a slightly sinister and maddening smile appeared on his face again. Oh, the orange level mission is nothing but that. Compared with him in the previous life, he now thinks he has more advantages. At this moment, a light boat is flying neither high nor low in the air, neither fast nor slow, for fear of encountering some cultivator who is also flying in the imperial object on the road. In the profound sky realm, the flying magic weapon can be understood as a vehicle like a car. If you fly too high or too fast, you will feel that you are provoking him when you meet someone who also loves flying magic weapons, and it is easy to cause trouble. Therefore, Liu Dongli can be said to be very detailed. At the same time, her consciousness was constantly being released, exploring the surrounding situation. This will not only prevent getting lost, but also prevent tracking. She is very gifted in the aspect of divine consciousness. Her divine consciousness is far stronger than the practitioners of the same realm, and she is sensitive and alert. With her current cultivation level, unless she is someone whose realm is much higher than her, otherwise, if you want to follow her without being discovered, it will be as difficult as going to the sky. Safety comes first when you go out. Liu Dongli thought. Just 100 meters away from the group of 4, a light boat of the same style was flying in the air. Uncle, is it really good for us to be so close? A slightly immature voice said. Uncle, I am a great practitioner. www.mtlnovel.com. Don't talk about the distance of 100 meters, if I am willing, even if I stand in front of this girl, Xializi, she will not be able to detect me. A female voice came. The tone is tactful, it is the kind of speech with a slight ending. There is a man and a woman sitting on the same style of a canoe, a handsome young man and a plump woman. Many men say that those who are slightly fat are the best. But what kind of women are these men referring to when they are slightly fat? They understand naturally. And this woman is one of the best, the perfect chubby figure in the eyes of men. She was wearing a black Taoist robe and a Taoist bun on her head. She dressed a bit like Kundao in Taoist temples, that is, a serious Taoist nun. Yes, Taoist nuns also have many irregulars. It's just that this loose black robe can't hide her curves. If this woman lowered her head, she would definitely not be able to see her toes. This woman has a pair of seductive peach blossom eyes, and her temperament is slanted, which is in stark contrast to the cold and serious Taoist robe on her body, but it brings a slight sense of taboo to people. At this moment, she is sitting at the front of Yi Qingzhou. Due to the movement of sitting down, the hem of the Taoist robe is tightened by her buttocks. The woman's name is Ning Ying. The surplus is full, this woman, is just as her name suggests. Ning Ying is one of the 9 elders of Sword Sect today, and her cultivation is unfathomable. She stomped her foot, and even the entire Qingzhou was shocked. Lu Dongli's one a leaf boat of the same style was given by Ning Ying when she broke through to the first realm. Yes, Lu Koj always joked that there is someone above him, and this elder Ning Ying is the person above Lu Koj. Ning Ying came to Momin this time, originally to visit the Lu family brothers and sisters, but she didn't expect that the Lu family brothers and sisters were planning to go down the mountain. She has a keen sense of consciousness, and she overheard all the conversations between her brother and sister. After learning that Lu Koj was going down the mountain to break through, she planned to not show up for the time being. Follow in the dark.jpg. Uncle, why don't we walk with them directly? I always find it weird to follow them secretly. The handsome and beautiful boy said to Ning Ying. What do you know, it's fun. Ning Ying smiled. As a smile appeared on her face, those peach blossom eyes gradually became more seductive, especially attractive. Her fascination is not artificial, there is a natural feeling, she is a natural fairy. You must know that after the public beta of Tianxuanja, sand sculpture players have been selected by NPCs on the forum. On the list of the most popular female NPCs, Ning Ying has always been on the top page of the list, and has never been on the list. She is beautiful and strong, and she is simply the favorite of soft fans. The handsome young man didn't understand Shisha's bad taste, so he muttered, isn't it just going down the mountain to break through the first realm? When Ning Ying heard this, the smile on her face became even stronger, she blinked her peach blossom eyes, dragged the end, and came out with a meaningful voice, oh. The handsome young man turned his head to the side and said, that's how it was originally. I've been cultivating for so many years, and I haven't broken through the initial stage. It's just. In the end, he didn't say some bad words either. Ning Ying and Lu Koj's mother are like sisters, and she also treats Lu Koj as a parent-child and nephew. It's just that the strange thing is that after hearing the words of the handsome young man, instead of being annoyed, she said with a smile, how do I remember someone who has been very concerned about him since I was a child? This time I heard that I was coming to Momin, so I thought about going down the mountain, right? No way. Uncle Shi, you started to make up nonsense, random suspicion. The handsome young man frowned, turned his head away, and the 4-character words began to jump out. You are in a hurry, you are in a hurry. Ning Ying was even more amused. The handsome young man simply shut up and stopped talking. But that doesn't mean that he acquiesced to Ning Ying's words. He would not admit that he was always paying attention to Lu Koj. It's okay for others to think that Koj is a waste of cultivation, but you shouldn't think so. Ning Ying said. After so many years, I can't even break through the first realm. This is an indisputable fact. Yu Yu said so, but her eyes couldn't help looking at the tall and straight back 100 meters away. When Ningying heard the words, she smiled without saying a word. Yu Yu is one of the disciples with the greatest potential in Jianzong's generation. Although he is a sword attendant, he is actually like a disciple of the sword master. You must know that Jianzun has an extraordinary position in Jianzong, his status is higher than that of the elders, and his status is equal to that of the suzerain. In Jianzong, the most powerful must be the suzerain, but to say who has the strongest sword, it must be Jianzun. Only the sword of Jianzong's supreme power can get the name of Jianzun. It is a great honor to be the sword attendant under the sword master. All the disciples of the sword sect are eager to eat lemons. But Ningying is clear, don't look at Yu Yu's mouth as if she doesn't take Lukoj seriously, but to him, Lukoj is like a nightmare existence, if it is karma demon. Yu Yu has a prominent family background, and is also an elegant and noble son in the secular world. He was a good seedling that Ningying accidentally discovered when he was wandering down the mountain. His kendo talent is extremely high. He is a legendary sword body that is rare in thousands of years, and he is the top kendo talent. This kind of talent, converted into in-game attributes, is kendo qualification, 10. Yu Yu actually has another identity, and that is the identity that only Lukoj knows so far. He is one of the 4 world protagonists in the game Tiangxuanja. Since Tiangxuanja is a game, there must be a main story mission. Then, in the NPC, there must be protagonist-level characters who play the most important role in the story mission. Yu Yu is one of them. Because he is handsome and strong, back then, his popularity among female players could be said to be overwhelming, like an idol star. No way, a woman becomes lustful, that's true lust. Closer to home, Ningying happened to pass by Danking Peak in Momin before taking Yu Yu back to the sect, and went to Momin to stay for a few days. At that time, Lukoj's parents were still alive and had not died. Ningying and her best friend had not seen each other for a long time. And this half-month has left a deep childhood shadow on Yu Yu. He still remembers that when he first met Lukoj, who was 2 years older than him, Lukoj's first sentence was, "Oh, it's not as good looking as me. Yu Yu, it's up to you to control the next thing, but you have to follow closely." Ningying no longer controlled Yi Yeqing Zhou, and said to Yu Yu, "Yes, Uncle Shi." After Yu Yu took over a light boat, her eyes were always fixed on Lukoj's tall and straight back, and she never moved away. "No way, it was Uncle Shi who told him to follow closely, but I didn't want to see it." Looking at Lukoj's back, he actually had mixed feelings in his heart. In the past, he regarded Lukoj as the enemy of his life, and even once felt that he might only be able to chase after his back in this life, rather than catch up with him. Yu Yu's thoughts began to diverge, and gradually entered into her memories. On that day a few years ago, the 2 young boys met for the first time in Danking Peak. After reporting their names, Yu Yu was looked at by Lukoj from top to bottom, her eyes were very aggressive, as if he was putting his whole body on him. All can be seen clearly. "Your name is Yu Yu? They really look alike." The young boy Lukoj said old-fashionedly. "Who do you resemble?" Yu Yu couldn't understand. Lukoj smiled without saying a word, and did not answer. After confirming that the clean and handsome young man in front of him was the legendary protagonist of the world, the smile on Lukoj's face gradually turned into a wicked and maddened look. "It's called Senior Brother," Lukoj said. What? Yu Yu didn't react for a while. "I said, you should call me Senior Brother." Lukoj smiled crookedly, folded his arms around his chest, and stood on a rock because he was a little taller than Yu Yu, and directly looked down at Yu Yu with this movement. Yu Yu has a prominent family background, and she knows that she is talented, and she is a proud person. Logically speaking, Lukoj was older than him, and he was the son of the head of the Mo clan, which meant that he had already entered the school from the moment he was born. Although Momin is a subordinate sect of Jianzong, he is also a family. Strictly speaking, he is indeed Yu Yu's distant senior brother. However, the status of the disciples of the sword sect is higher than that of the disciples of Momin. Not many people would really count their seniority like this, and no disciple of the small sect would dare to care about it. After all, rules are just rules. But Lukoj is different, his mental age can make you call him uncle. It's true that you are the son of an aristocratic family, but don't forget that Lukoj in his previous life was also a super rich second generation. What's more, you are the protagonist of the world, and I am still the chosen one. Is the only traveler. Aren't you calling? Lukoj continued to look down at him. Yu did not speak, but expressed her attitude in silence. In the heart of young Yu, Lukoj, who has not yet formally cultivated, is obviously not worthy of a senior brother. Do you scream? If you don't, your head will be slapped. Lukoj frowned. You dare? Yu widened her clear eyes, burning with anger. Snapped. Under the moonlight, the boy's head tilted. Yu never imagined that the young man in front of her would do such a trick for her to kill her by tilting her head. Although the strength is not large, it is not painful, but there is a feeling of being taught by the elders. A deep sense of humiliation rose in Yu's heart. He was like an angry little beast, rushing towards Lukoj with red eyes. The final result is that because Lukoj is more social than him, the situation is completely one-sided. The young boy Yu was beaten again like this. When he hit the back, his voice trembled and his eyes were filled with tears. Clap! I didn't eat, please speak up, you rude little brat. Lukoj said. But to be honest, Lukoj was dragging his feet, but he was always a man of ceremonies. It was as if he had never met the worshipper who was in seclusion in the tomb. Every time he went to sweep the tomb, he would do a junior salute before leaving. People are rude and cannot stand. So, he really taught a lesson to be straightforward. And based on the pride in her heart, Yu didn't bother to make small reports after being beaten. I just think that one day, with my own efforts, I will find the place back. Young man, have ambition. 3 days later, the young boy Lukoj took the essence of washing marrow and officially entered the world of cultivation. Ning Ying thought that it would be better to hit the sun if she chose the next day. Anyway, she had a lot of money and she had a lot of spirit grass in her storage ring. She simply asked Yu to wash the marrow together, and then gave the formula to let the two young people enter the door of the cultivation world together. In her opinion, this event is very ritualistic, and will be regarded as a precious childhood memory in the future. Several adults are not blind, they can see that something seems to have happened between the two teenagers, but Ning Ying's brain circuit is unusual, she thinks that they have established a preliminary friendship. This is a scene she is very happy to see. Therefore, Lukoj and Yu took marrow washing spirit grass on the same day, and they also practiced the most basic qi refining technique on the same day. In the initial stage, all practitioners practiced the qi refinement technique, no exceptions. There is a unified 9-year compulsory education on Earth, and the Tianxian realm also has a unified initial qi training counseling. Yu, the opportunity is here. He knows that he has an extraordinary talent, and he is a genius in cultivation that has been rare in 1,000 years. He will definitely be able to crush this rural villager who will be brute force on the way of cultivation. At that time, I will let him know what a genius is, what is a genius. If your cultivation base is thrown away by me in the future, I think you are too embarrassed to ask me to call you senior brother. Yu already had a perfect plan, and a smile appeared on her delicate face. Facts have proved that Yu is indeed superior in terms of root and talent, no, it's a number. He only took a short stick of incense to absorb the full effect of the spiritual herb, while Lukoj used 3 sticks of incense. After Lukoj opened his eyes, what greeted him was Yu Yu's slightly provocative gaze. He smiled crookedly, still confident, and said, "Little devil, let me let you." Yu Yu was so angry that she gritted her teeth and said, "I hope you will still be able to laugh when you practice the chi refining technique. Don't worry, I'll make you cry." Lukoj replied. In Momin's practice room, Lukoj and Yu Yu sat cross-legged on two futons. Chi refining technique is the most basic method. As long as you have the talent for cultivation, you can easily get started. And the only criterion for getting started is entering meditation. When you can calm down and enter a state of meditation, you can perceive the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Just by refining a small wisp of heaven and earth aura, you can be regarded as a successful entry and become a practitioner in the first realm. Most people are lively and noisy when they are young, and many people are like wild monkeys when they are young. It is extremely difficult to enter into meditation. The meditation here is not as simple as concentrating, but a more mysterious state. Although Yu Yu has an excellent foundation and a very high understanding, it is not something that can be achieved in a short time if you want to enter into meditation for the first time. What's more, he already has the heart to compare, but his heart is restless. But Lukoj is different. In his previous life, he was a super rich second generation, and he was very interested in many strange things. He has studied yoga, learned to meditate with an old monk, and practiced on the mountain with a Taoist priest. He does have some experience in meditation. What's more, he has an adult mind and has received higher education on earth. Chi refining technique is equivalent to a textbook, and his comprehension ability is definitely better than that of Yu Yu. Therefore, with the effort of just a cup of tea, Lukoj can easily enter the concentration, and draw chi into the body, and step into the first realm. Yu Yu watched this scene helplessly, and then the mentality is broken. On a light boat, Yu Yu recalled childhood memories from a few years ago, with mixed feelings in her heart. Looking back on it now, he still feels so angry. As the protagonist of the world, his Xingxing is naturally far beyond ordinary people, otherwise he would not be called a cultivation genius. But a child is a child after all. When he is still young, how can anyone have a heart like a rock? Therefore, at that time, it was easy for him to be misled by others. And as we all know, many shadows of childhood, people spend their whole lives, they may not be able to come out. Yu Yu, if my uncle remembers correctly, did you still cry back then? Ningying interjected inexplicably. Uncle, I don't have it. Yu Yu controlled a light boat and said firmly. You have. Ningying said with certainty, Koj entered meditation earlier than you. You just learned to enter meditation, and you went to find him excitedly. Who would have guessed that he was already in the second stage of the first realm, and you were so angry that you cried on the spot? Uncle, you remembered it wrong. Yu Yuqingziu's face paled slightly, and there was a hint of begging in her tone. Do not talk. Do not talk. This memory has long been sealed by him, but at this moment, Ningying's casual remark is like opening a dust-sealed door. He recalled that afternoon, when he finally succeeded in entering the meditation, he was going to say a few harsh words, telling Lukoj that he was just negligent for a while, and that he would soon surpass him. Unexpectedly, Lukoj at that time had successfully trained to the second level. Sky. The Chi refinement technique is a very basic thing. As long as the meditation efficiency is high enough and the mind is quiet enough, the practice in the first realm is really simple. Yu Yu remembered that day, when he knocked on Lukoj's door, the man leaned against the bamboo door, exuding the strong breath of the first realm second level heaven, raised his head and looked down at Yu Yu with his nostrils. In a very casual tone, isn't it enough to have a brain? At this moment, Yu Yu was controlling Yi Qingzhou and began to struggle. Did I really cry that day? To be honest, he can't remember a little, or he can't remember this memory selectively. But he knew very well that since then, he was unconvinced by Lukoj. Deep in his heart, he has long admired this senior brother Koj. I'm not as good as him. Of course, there must be another scene in the mouth. Half a month passed in a blink of an eye, and Ning Ying left Momin with Yu Yu, who was still young. When they parted, Yu Yu began to doubt life, because there was a feeling of reluctance in his heart. He was obviously abused for half a month. The head has been beaten several times, and it is still a bit reluctant. Ning Ying's light boat carried him away from Momin, and not far away came the voice of young Lukoj, who was dragging him to death. Don't even say goodbye. www.mtlnovel.com. Rude little brat. Yu Yu didn't answer, but she shouted hard in her heart, especially the second one, goodbye. Senior brother Lu. After coming to Jianzhong, Yu Yu quickly showed her talent for cultivation. She became a blockbuster among the disciples of Jianzhong at the same time, and won the favor of countless elders. During the same period, the disciples regarded him as the favored son of heaven and called him a contemporary swordsman genius. Unexpectedly, Yu Yu was always humble and polite, and waved his hand and said bluntly, I don't dare to be. Because he knew in his heart that in the distant Momin, there was another senior brother who was far superior to him in every aspect. Whenever a disciple of the sword sect praised him, he would bring out a mysterious senior brother and tell everyone not to be complacent because of being a disciple of the sword sect. There are mountains outside the mountains, and there are people outside the people. He tried his best to chase this mysterious senior brother, but what he finally caught up with was just his shadow. Jianzhong is the holy place of swordsmanship in the world. It has always been the leader of swordsmanship. The goal of every generation of swordsman disciples is to defend the status of Jianzhong in the swordsmanship today. As a leader among contemporary disciples, Yu Yu often said, if anyone can threaten the status of sword sect, it must be that senior. Day after day, year after year, he kept these words on his lips all the year round, but he didn't want to reveal Lukoj's real name, and only replaced it with the word senior brother. The young disciples were all curious. Who is he? How strong is he? Is his talent really a threat to the younger generation of our sword sect? The threat of mysterious senior brother, the threat of Lukoj, became popular among the younger generation of Jianzhong. P.S. The contract has arrived, change the contract status, you can give a reward hehe. The popularity of the mysterious brother threat theory is not a strange thing. After all, Yu Yu is the leader of the new generation of disciples of the sword sect, and a figure that makes the rest of the disciples look down on him. They were all chasing after Yu Yu's back, but Yu Yu said that he tried his best to catch up with the shadow of this senior brother, so I can't even see the shadow? Who would have thought that among the 300 subordinate sects of my sword sect, there would still be such cultivation geniuses? Admirable, awesome, deplorable. A huge dark shadow shrouded the hearts of the disciples of the sword sect, and they finally understood why Yu Yu was so good, yet she worked so hard. What Yu Yu did was naturally hidden from Ning Ying's eyes. An elder Ning Ying was very happy to see this scene. This is the power of friendship. She thought it was friendship anyway. As time goes by, Ning Ying goes to Momin several times a year, and occasionally asks Yu Yu if she wants to go with her, but Yu Yu makes excuses every time to refuse. It's not that he doesn't want to see Lukoj, but he is afraid of seeing Lukoj. I was afraid that I would have been left far away by Lukoj. He wanted to be more diligent and work harder. Until I am qualified to walk side by side with him, meet him again. But the accident happened silently, and Lukoj's parents died. Yu Yu and Ning Ying went to Momin to mourn, and the two met again. Beginning. The beginning of the great perfection. He actually just reached the great consummation in the first realm. How could he not even be able to break through a first realm? Yu Yu began to doubt herself. What have I been doing all these years? What exactly am I chasing? What am I afraid of? What is the significance of my hard work all these years catching up? Yu Yu's heart was shocked, and her belief collapsed. He cracked. It is said that the powder is naturally black in the depths. Later, Yu showed signs of turning black. He gradually changed from being a brainless fan of Lukoj to the number one Heezy. But even so, he couldn't help but pay attention to him. No way, this is the power of childhood shadows. Since then, he has been looking for excuses every year to follow Ningying to Momin. Every time he pretended not to care, he was actually observing Lukoj's cultivation. In the profound sky realm, there has also been the phenomenon of being stuck at a certain bottleneck for a long time, and then breaking through several realms within a day. Like Jianzong's contemporary Jianzun, he was stuck in the great perfection of the third realm for 10 years, and then he realized the way of swordsmanship overnight. When the sun first rose, he stepped into the fourth realm, and when the sun set, it was already the fifth realm. The great practitioner of the realm. Yu has a voice deep in her heart. Will Lukoj be the same? But time waits for no one. Yu has already cultivated to the third realm, and Lukoj is still standing still. It stands to reason that the first realm is the easiest, and no matter how wasteful people are, they should be broken, right? He doubted whether Lukoj broke the slowest record in the profound sky realm. Yu began to feel how stupid she was. On a light boat, Yu stared at Lukoj's back, and said in her heart, "Finally, are you finally going to break through? Oh, what am I caring about? Even if he breaks the first realm, he is just a first realm cultivator." The one-leaf light boat controlled by Lu Dongli was still moving forward with neither high nor low, neither fast nor slow. She didn't notice that someone was following behind her, and she was in a very beautiful mood at the moment. She has recruited a new disciple with extraordinary aptitude, and her brother is finally about to break through. How could she be unhappy? Looking at the smile on his sister's face, Lukoj suddenly seemed to have discovered something and asked, "Lu Dongli, are you hiding your cultivation?" "A little bit, a little bit." Lu Dongli raised his right hand and made a small distance between his thumb and index finger. From her point of view, isn't it normal to hide your cultivation and hide a few more trump cards when you go out? The family is a girl, so I have to wear several coats to prevent it from running out. Is there a problem? Lukoj took a deep breath and asked, "Elder Lu Dongli, I am asking you very seriously, do you usually hide your cultivation under my nose?" Lu Dongli, who was controlling a light boat, shook her shoulders slightly, turned her head to Lukoj with a bright smile, and said, How could it be? Ha ha, ha ha." The corners of Lukoj's mouth twitched slightly, and he said in his heart, as expected, a man has to rely on himself, and relying on his sister is unreliable. With Xiao Lizi's temperament, Momin should not rely on her to boost her reputation. If conditions permit, she is afraid that she will go to hell, right? Xiao Kaiu opened her big eyes and glanced at her beautiful master at one time, and at her handsome master at another time. Although she didn't quite understand what they were talking about, she found it very interesting. Hei Ting, the sullen gourd, did not have the slightest change in his expression. He had been a beginner for many years, and he was already used to the two brothers and sisters who had completely opposite personalities. A light boat flew in the air for another hour, and then came to the flame forest area. Everyone landed at the periphery of the flame forest, and did not fly too deep. Some alien beasts can also fly, so it doesn't mean that the sky is safe. After entering the forest of flames, Lu Dongli explored the path ahead. She walked very slowly, and she only took action when she ensured 100% safety ahead. Lukoj followed his sister carelessly, waiting for the task system to give a prompt. The level 10 promotion task, the content of the task is very simple, he has done it long ago in his previous life, that is killing monsters. Although the promotion tasks are divided into 4 difficulty levels, yellow, blue, purple, and orange, the content is to kill monsters. When encountering a suitable wild monster, the mission system will issue a prompt message in a timely manner, and will directly give the wild monster a coordinate positioning, which is particularly convenient. However, the promotion task must be completed independently, without any help. You have to rely on yourself to get rid of the monsters. A group of people will take turns, and the mission system will directly determine that it is invalid. It stands to reason that the orange level promotion task should be to single out a level 10 boss level monster. Lukoch thought. Just as cultivators of the same level are also divided into strengths and weaknesses, monsters in the profound sky realm are also divided into common level, elite level, quasi-boss level, and boss level under the same level class. It's just that level 10 bosses don't exist at all. Lukoch thought. After all, the strong are all strong and 100 flowers bloom, and the weak are equally weak. In the case of a lower level, the difference between the same level will not be too big. Therefore, even if it is an orange level mission, the standard is only to single out a quasi-boss level exotic beast. I don't know if there are any that meet the standards in the Flaming Forest. Lukoch looked around, and the mission prompt said that www.mtlnovel.com can come to the Flaming Forest to try their luck. The crowd walked forward for a while, and Lu Dongli suddenly stopped and said in surprise, "Today's luck is so good, I found the marrow washing spirit grass so quickly, and there are 3 plants in one breath. Not far in front, there are 3 spirit washing spirit grasses growing together." Xiao Qiu smelled the faint fragrance of the marrow washing spirit grass, and couldn't help swallowing. "This grass smells delicious," she thought to herself. Lu Dongli was about to move forward, but stopped suddenly. "There is a situation. It's an alien beast." Her divine consciousness instantly opened up and radiated directly to the surroundings. She wants to determine the specific strength of this alien beast with the highest efficiency, and then make a decision at the speed of lightning, fight or run. The reason for being efficient is because if you want to fight, you should save your spiritual sense at this moment to ensure that it will be enough for later battles. The reason why he had to make a decision right away was because he was afraid that if he couldn't beat him, he would run away immediately. You know, the worst situation is not only can't beat, but also can't run. But just before Lu Dongli made a choice, a big hand suddenly stretched forward. I saw that Lukoch had stood in front of everyone at some point, and raised his right arm to block everyone behind him. The innocent Xiao Qiu looked at the back of the headmaster Boyan, and felt so safe. He was the heroic head she imagined. However, Lu Dongli couldn't help the corners of her mouth twitching and cried out in her heart. She knew very well that her brother's illness. "I'm afraid I'm going to do it again. P.S. Ask for a recommendation ticket. Also, don't give 404 starting coins anymore, I can't stand the milk." In the Forest of Flames, Lukoch stood in front of everyone, and the wind blew the corners of his cyan robe, matched with his handsome face and a slightly sinister, crooked smile. The image was very strong. In Lu Dongli's eyes, this smile means that his brother has gradually changed. From her point of view, she felt that this approach was too arrogant and domineering. After all, Lukoch's movements were so fast that he probably didn't even know what the strength of that alien beast lurking in the dark was. Whether they can beat it or not is still unknown. How dare he? This thought rose again in Lu Dongli's heart. Brother Lu Dongli's innate self-confidence is still unpredictable. She is still young and has little knowledge, but she doesn't know that men are self-confident creatures. Of course, Lukoch is different, at least his confidence and pull are different from everyone else. She didn't know that just before, Lukoch's ear heard the prompt sound of the mission system. Ding! The mission target has been locked. He didn't expect that luck would be so good. Not only did he find 3 marrow-washing spirit grasses here, but he also encountered a strange beast that met the requirements of the mission. I knew that my lucky value of 3.1415926 was just an appearance. Lukoch grinned even wider. He is grinning wildly. At this moment, Lu Dongli's consciousness has also locked on this alien beast, and he has a general understanding of the specific strength of this alien beast. Hey, this exotic beast only has a rank equivalent to the great perfection of the first realm. It's a 9th rank exotic beast. The level of alien beasts is from low to high, and is divided into 9 to 1 grades. No. You can't think like that. Alien beasts may also be able to disguise, so let's treat it as an 8th rank alien beast. Lu Dongli felt that he had to keep his hands steady. Of course, she, who has already reached the 2nd realm, can completely crush this strange beast. This made Lu Dongli completely relieved. It is precisely because of this that she did not block Lu Kaoch's preparation. It's better to let my brother fight last time. This may be an opportunity for him to break through the 1st realm. She thought in her heart. For Jiangzhu, breaking through in battle is the norm. A hardy battle is tantamount to sharpening the sword for oneself. Anyway, even if there is an accident, she is sure to rely on her own strength to protect her brother. Lu Dongli's consciousness was always locked on this alien beast, and she soon discovered that this alien beast was about to attack. She was about to open her mouth to remind her, but saw that Lu Kaoch had moved a step earlier than her. Hey! Lu Dongli was slightly surprised. This alien beast is obviously good at hiding. How did my brother know its movements? And you just rushed forward so generously, are you really okay? Lu Dongli felt that his heart was broken. Yes, at this moment, Lu Kaoch did not use any means, he rushed forward like a common man. It's completely rude mode. It's just that the reckless man ran, it was humming, the movement was loud, and the movement was ugly. But he ran, and the robe danced gracefully, elegant and unrestrained. It's a pity that the slightly crooked corner of the mouth slightly spoiled the atmosphere. After counting the breaths, whether it was Lu Dongli, or Ningying and Yu Yu who were hiding in the dark, they all discovered something was wrong. It was only at this time that they realized that Lu Kaoch was running towards the alien beast, he was running in the direction of the spiritual grass. He didn't go to meet the enemy, but went to pick spiritual grass with a smile. No, handsome man, do you know that you are dancing in front of sharp teeth? Damn it, did he find a strange beast hiding in the dark? Yu Yu couldn't help but scolded in a low voice. High-end hunters always appear as prey. While Lu Kaoch thought this way, he completely exposed himself to the attack range of this alien beast. Since the mission system would automatically lock the target, Lu Kaoch easily controlled its movements. Come on, pounce on this seat, come and pounce on me. Lu Kaoch ran to the washing marrow spirit grass, and while thinking like this, he bent down and made a picking action. It's good now, let alone the entire back, the buttocks are exposed to the attack range of the alien beast. Big flaw. Ningying and the others thought of this word at the same time. And this alien beast, waiting for an opportunity, finally couldn't hold himself back. If you don't rush now, when will you wait? A large snake with a length of more than 5 meters, densely covered with scales and black lines, suddenly ejected from the rear. Yes, some people may not know that many snakes have excellent jumping ability, and can bounce directly from one tree to another. That picture really had a taste of flying through the clouds. It's just such a long black and thick that twists and turns in midair, and it really doesn't have any aesthetic feeling. Black Snake, Level 10. Grade, Quasi-Boss. Lu Kaoch's fingers had already touched the branches and leaves of the spiritual cleansing spirit grass, but his eyes became cold and severe at this moment. Snakes, they can also be quasi-boss rank. It is estimated that there is some high-level alien blood in their bloodline. He quickly came to a conclusion in his heart. At this moment, he was not in the slightest panic. He is no longer who he was when he just played Tiangxuanja. For the old driver, the scene in front of him is just a small scene. He has a wealth of experience and is well aware of the weaknesses of all kinds of beasts. This is his biggest reliance when facing the quasi-boss-level alien beast alone. You must know that when players come into contact with some exotic beasts for the first time, they have no idea where their weaknesses are. On the contrary, it is more effective. The strategy is in hand. I have the world. Lukoch slightly hooked his fingertips back when he touched the marrow-washing spirit grass. On his fair and slender index finger, he wore an ink-colored jade ring. This is not only the status symbol of the head of Momin, but also a magic treasure with a lot of space. At the same time, it can be regarded as a relic left to him by his father. The name of this ring is very simple, it is called ink ring. An ink-colored airflow circulated in the ink ring made of black jade, and soon, something more appeared on Lukoch's right hand. It was a sword. A sword belonging to Jiangzi Lukoch. The style of this sword is very simple, and the whole body is dark. The hilt is black, and the scabbard is also black. It has no sword spikes, no pendants, and no carvings. It looks simple and monotonous. Well, it's the exact opposite of the bells and whistles of its owner. Sword name not too late. This is the name Lukoch took himself. And what the meaning is, only he himself knows. Among the people present, it was the first time that Xiao Qiu saw an alien beast. In addition, she was still a child, so she couldn't help but let out a cry of exclamation www.mtlnovel.com and worried about the head teacher. The fleshy round face instantly turned pale and bloodless. She was the slowest to react. The hand of the headmaster, at some point, was already holding the hilt of the sword. So fast! Yu Yu and Lu Dongli had this thought in their hearts at the same time. The strange beast suddenly attacked, and he was able to react between lightning and flint. Only Ningying smiled, those charming peach eyes were full of smiles, seeing through all this was just the arrangement of this stinky boy. Under normal circumstances, when the two are at war, it is often necessary to make a prejudgment. But deliberately selling a flaw is different. As long as you go to my flaws, your every move is already in my calculations. This is the so-called high-end hunter, who always appears as a prey. The next moment, Lukoch moved. Just as the sharp teeth of the black-striped snake were about to bite at the back of his neck, the black sword in his hand slammed back. He didn't make any reservations about this blow. Not too late, the long sword, with its scabbard, slapped the black snake's left eye with a loud bang. Here is the weakness of the black snake. In game terms, hitting here can produce a 100% crit effect. I'll hit you with a crooked head. Lukoch shouted violently. Snapped. In an instant, the black striped snake tilted its head and flew out. 100 meters away, Yu Yu, who was hiding in the dark, only felt that the scene in front of him was too familiar. During the same year, he had experienced it too many times. The most amazing thing is that his head couldn't help but twist. The body has a conditioned reflex of shame. Yu Yu, what's the matter with you? Ningying looked back and glanced at Yu Yu, who was tilting her neck with a little doubt. Uncle, I'm fine. Yu Yu raised her right hand and rubbed her neck to hide her embarrassment. At that moment just now, he watched the black snake's head crooked, and the sense of substitution was too strong. The shadow of childhood is so terrifying. After calming down, Yu Yu recounted what Lukoch had just done in her mind. For a while, she didn't know if he did it by chance or if everything was what he expected. The most terrifying thing was that this 5-meter-long black-striped snake was rolling and twitching on the ground at the moment. It was obviously badly injured, as if it had lost its strength in the first battle. Uncle, I don't understand. Yu Yu turned to look at Ningying with deep doubts in her tone. Young people, just ask if you don't understand. Oh? What's wrong with you? Ningying asked. Judging from the momentum just now, this black-striped snake is obviously not an ordinary 9-rank exotic beast. And I just observed it, it has reverse scales on its body. If there is no accident, there should be a high-level exotic beast in its body. Blood. So what? Ning Ying asked again. So I don't understand why she. Luko's blow just now made this extraordinary black-striped snake hurt so badly. Yu asked. Because that's where the black snake's weakness lies. Ning Ying raised her hand, straightened the wooden hairpin on her bun, and said. With her cultivation, the mere black-striped snake can be seen at a glance. When Yu heard the words, she fell into a brief silence. The world protagonist has obviously got the answer, but the confusion in his heart has become more and more intense. How did he find out? How did he do all this? Beside the 3 marrow-washing spirit grasses, Lukoch held a sword in one hand, and let the whole not too late turn around in his hand, just like a turning a folding fan in his hand. The long sword was put into the storage ring. The black-striped snake not far away is already in a state of residual blood. He only needs to go over to make up the knife to kill it and gain a considerable amount of experience. I saw that he raised his right hand, flicked his fingers, and a small needle-like sword chi flew out, directly penetrating the twitching black snake. Lukoch's movements were all dashing, and Xiao, who was not far away, was completely fascinated. Sect Master, all right, it's amazing. Is this the legendary fairy method? However, Lu Dongli raised her hand to cover her face, expressing puzzlement to her brother's actions. The sword chi at the fingertips consumes a lot of spiritual power. She knows very well that with her brother's total spiritual power, the sword chi at the fingertips can't do much. This kind of combat style is equivalent to wasting spiritual power, and the utilization rate is too low, which is not in line with her combat concept. Obviously, walking over and making up a sword will be enough. What kind of sword energy do you use with your fingertips? If there is any danger at this moment, the spiritual power in the body is depleted so much, wouldn't it be directly cool? She didn't know. That was because Lukoch knew that black snakes could spit poisonous fog, and he didn't want to be smeared by poisonous fog when he approached. At that time, many sand sculpture players just didn't understand this, and they were directly poisoned to death. Ding! You have successfully killed the alien beast, Black Snake, and gained 10,000 experience points. Ding! Your promotion mission has been completed. Do you want to receive the mission reward? Lukoch nodded slightly. It's not bad, it actually has 10,000 experience points. Although 10,000 experience points is not too much compared to the experience points he has accumulated silently over the years, it is still a considerable reward for him at this stage. You know, to upgrade from level 10 to level 11, it just takes 10,000 experience points. As for the reward for the promotion mission, Lukoch chose to receive it without thinking about it. Ding! Successfully received, you have obtained a spiritual enlightenment coupon, orange. Looking at the quest reward, even the well-informed Lukoch felt a little restless for a while. The Spirit Enlightening coupon, it's actually an orange level Spirit Enlightening coupon. But it's right to think about it. Since it is an orange level task, the reward given should be an orange level reward. It's just that after the player completes the task, the rewards given by the system are not necessarily fixed, but are often random. And the Spirit Voucher is undoubtedly one of the top rewards in the early game. The so-called Spirit Enlightenment coupons are used to enlighten players. In the Profound Sky Realm, the first realm is equivalent to laying the foundation, and entering the first realm is actually a real entry into the world of cultivation. When breaking through the first realm, practitioners with extraordinary aptitude may be favored by some powers of heaven and earth, and get a chance to enlightenment. The so-called Qiling is to be able to have one more natal supernatural power. It's more like a permanent buff than a natal supernatural power. For example, if you are favored by Thunderbolt, you will be inspired by the power of lightning between heaven and earth, and your spiritual power will have its own thunder attribute. Every sword energy of yours will be surrounded by lightning and have its own Pikachu buff. Like Yu and Lu Dongli, they both had enlightenment. Yu is fire, Lu Dongli is wind. These abilities, the more you reach the later stage, the more you can see the advantages. In the past life, there were only a very small number of players who had enlightenment. Lukoj recalled, but he couldn't think of a few. Anyway, at that time, he was never enlightened. In the past, his greatest superpower was just a mere wealth. Woohoo, take off! Lukoj smiled brightly, his color getting darker. Because he was in a good mood, his actions of pulling up the marrow-washing spirit grass seemed extraordinarily rude. Men, they like to vent when they are in a good mood, and they like to vent when they are in a bad mood. Since the root-washing spirit grass has been pulled out, it should be taken as soon as possible. He only plucked one plant, because Momin was too poor, and there was no container to store the marrow-washing spirit grass, and plucking it would be a waste, so don't waste it. Might as well remember this coordinate and try your luck next time. Let's go. Lukoj turned to Lu Dongli and the others. They need to find a secluded and safe place to consume spirit herbs in the flame forest, which is too dangerous. Okay. Lu Dongli decisively took out a light boat, and everyone quickly got on the boat and left the outer area of the flame forest. After the four of them left, Ningying took Yu to show her figure, and pulled out the marrow-washing spirit grass on the ground and placed it in the jade box. Sure enough, with a woman of this age, she is nourished in every way. After picking the spirit grass, Ningying waved the sleeve of her black Taoist robe. After hiding her breath, she followed Yu and followed Avi in secret. Lu Dongli's light boat flew through the air, and soon came to a small waterfall. She used her divine sense to look around, and after confirming that it was safe, she slowly landed, preparing to protect Xiaokaiu. After Xiaokaiu sat down cross-legged obediently, Lukoj actually sat directly beside her www.mtlnovel.com before he sat down. His eldest disciple, hiding, was very discerning. A futon was taken out of the magic treasure and quickly placed on the ground. This dumb apprentice Lukoj has been training for so many years, and he has already been trained. Xiaokaiu raised her chubby round face and looked at the handsome master sect master beside her, with some doubts. What she wondered was not why she didn't sit on a futon, but should the master and uncle also share it? She had been greedy for this fragrant marrow-washing spirit grass for a long time, thinking in her heart. Lukoj seemed to have noticed that Xiaokaiu was swallowing saliva, so he smiled and said, "Want to eat?" Xiaokaiu nodded embarrassedly. "It will hurt a lot after eating." Lukoj reminded. "Ah." Xiaoqiu was shocked, the facial features of a round face were all wrinkled together, like a big meat bun. After a while, she asked seriously, "Then, is that delicious? The taste is good." Seeing her serious expression, Lukoj replied seriously. Lu Dongli couldn't take it any longer, interrupted the conversation between the two, and said, "Brother has exhausted his spiritual power, so he needs to meditate and adjust his breath." She wanted to take the opportunity to tell her brother that it is wrong for you to abuse your spiritual power like this. How could he know that? Lukoj waved his hand and said, "Elder Dongli has been worrying too much. I feel this in my heart, and I'm afraid that the situation will be broken now." "Really?" Lu Dongli's beautiful eyes lit up, her slender and straight legs were tense, her body leaned forward, and her toes couldn't help but stand on tiptoe slightly. Lukoj thought, if she had a small tail, she would have been wagging happily by now. P.S. Thanks to the old and new friends for their support, don't forget to vote for recommendations every day.